This is the list. On this list, the greatest films ever made.
You know something? You're right.
Go ahead, make my day.
Alrighty then.
We're rolling sound.
What you just said
I drink it up!
is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I experienced more with the film.
Here we go. Very quiet, please.
I have a very particular set of skills, and I will have my vengeance.
Action.
Welcome back to the Film Reel podcast. I am Dillan Grant. Along with me, as always, Jon North, Dean Sidoris, and today we're reviewing The King, as seen on Netflix. We got our coffee ready. We got our Boss Auto sponsorship here, as always, and let's get to it, fellas. The King.
It's boss business.
It's boss business.
Boss.
The King, starring Timothy Chalamet.
My new favorite actor.
We told you he's on the come up, John. What'd you think? What'd you think of the flick?
You said last time for the was it Don't Look Up? He was in with Leo.
Yeah,
That
cameo.
he's kind of like the new Leo. He's the upcoming Leo.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. He's definitely an art house kind of guy that also does like big stuff. So like in that perspective, yeah, I guess. Yeah, who knows? I want to see what he looks like when he's 40.
True.
He needs to put on some weight though. He's just too skinny.
Especially in this movie.
He's Titanic Leo right now.
Yeah.
Young Romeo and Juliet Leo, where he's doing great. He's killing it, but he's just young Leo right now. I'm excited to see his future in the arts.
Cinema.
And then we have we also have Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Pattinson plays a really good creepy Joker-esque villain. The way that he talks and the way that he does things. It was actually like one of my favorite part. I'll just jump into that. Like one of my favorite scenes was that when he meets with Robert Pattinson when they comes to his little town when they're about to invade. I thought that was a good scene. Robert Pattinson did a really good job there.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe it. Watching that scene, I was like, wow, that's Twilight? No way Twilight. that but he's really stepped out of the box. His acting is crazy.
It's all over the place.
I'm hearing good things about Batman and, all these other kind of like artistic roles that he's playing. It's really cool to see an actor step out of the box and, kind of live dangerously and explore their inner emotions, and just really go out there and put it on the table. So yeah, I like that scene. He's wild in that scene, just creepy. Ooh, just ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pattinson's showing some range lately. He did that the Lighthouse movie, which was like super creepy black and white movie with William Dafoe. Batman, as we know, is coming out. It looks crazy. And then I guess from the Twilight series, there's like two main dudes. There's Pattinson and this other kid, Taylor something, Lautner, I think. Mm-hmm. All he does is like cameo in like Adam Sandler movies now. I've never seen him in anything else. And
he didn't really come out of that. Robert Pattinson
come out of that, yeah.
Came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it when he just did the Inception guy. He did one of his movies too. Pattinson.
Who's the Inception?
The one with
Tom Hardy?
No, like the director of Inception and all those.
Oh.
He did a movie with Robert Pattinson, the one where you can the police can like almost like slow down time. Remember that? It just came out like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't see it, but I know what it is.
Yeah, he basically like anyway, he's in that. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Another thing I didn't even notice in Interstellar, the movie Interstellar, Chalamet's in that. I didn't know he was the son. Have you guys seen Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey?
Oh, that's right. He is in that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. He is in that.
That was, I guess, the first role I've ever seen him in, but I didn't know it was him at the time. But yeah.
You're right. That was before we knew who he was, for sure. That might have been his first gig.
John, tell us about The King.
A king has no friends. Only followers and foe. A new chapter of my life has begun.
As prince, I spent my days
drinking, clowning. Now I find myself the king.
Choose your steps wisely.
What happened?
Yeah, I mean, The King is an amazing movie. I guess we'll give the ranking later, but I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Possibly in my top 15. You know, I have a top 10 list, I have a top 20 list. And so I think this is going to be in the top 20, maybe even 1 to 15, maybe better. I need time to like reflect and let it kind of settle in my stomach and think about it. You know, I always, that's what I do with the movie is I watch a movie, and if it's possibly in the top 20 or the top 10, you know, I don't make that judgment call just quite yet. I let it sink in for a few weeks, you know, before doing that. So I loved it. Sorry, my dog is Brady. Let me let my dog out the door.
Brady? Fitting name.
Brady.
We could talk about Brady the whole pod.
Yeah. So it is about King Henry. It is about King Henry V, who successes his father, King Henry IV. He was kind of like a drunken, spoiled brat kid that didn't want anything to do with the throne. His younger brother is next in line because his dad doesn't want him to be king. So then he comes in because he wants to save his brother's life because he knows his brother would just not be able to handle this role, and then ends up kind of getting famous through, battling and fighting, and ends up taking on the job. It's essentially kind of the first half of the movie.
And I don't know, Dean, if I would say he was a spoiled kid living by himself. You know, I think that he was more of a rebellion. Like, he didn't like the politics. He didn't really like, I mean, yes, of course he was spoiled because he was the king's son and he had pretty much anything he wanted. But he did have this attitude of like, you know, screw the crown, screw the politics. You know, I don't want any part of it. It's just war, money, money, money. You know, because when he gets into power, his whole thing is peace, peace, peace. I'm going to change the direction of where my father has gone. Yeah. And I want to have peace, and I want to do things differently. And of course, as we see, he attempts to do that, but the people in his corner completely trick him and brainwash him, as we find out in the end, to go to war and, you know, go that same route, which I guarantee you, if anything, once the movie ends, moving forward, he definitely sticks more to his original plan of peace, 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 knowing that people tricked him. I like that way the movie was shot. I like how it took its time. It was super slow.
Very slow.
I like super slow movies.
If they're good, that's all that really matters, right?
Yeah, I like the character building. I love the main actor. What's his name again? I even forget his name.
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet. He's like my new favorite actor. I loved him in Dune. I loved him in this movie. I think he's just incredible. I just felt his emotion the entire movie. The camera could just stay on him the entire movie, and I just felt it. So I thought he did a great job. I like the plot. I like how rugged it was. I've talked about this a lot in the past on movies that just feel real, where they're dirty, you know, they're rugged. The haircut, how they cut their hair and stuff, I wasn't a huge fan of.
He kind of had a bowl cut. He kind of had he had that bowl cut in real life, but it was that one had almost like a fade.
Yeah,
almost had a fade to it.
Little fade. Some of the pants he was wearing almost kind of looked like hipster LA pants, where there was a little sag on the little hipster sag, almost like Levi jeans.
He might have just been too skinny to hold him up. It was just
There's a few shots where I was like, is this like a Levi commercial? Like, it was kind of hipstery. It was okay though, but I liked how it was dirty. It was rugged. It felt real, especially the war scenes at the end, the battle scenes. It was gritty. I like gritty movies. You know, one thing I didn't like about Troy, it was too clean. You know, and in other movies that I see that have to do with battle in old timepieces. So that's my
piggyback to piggyback on that. Yeah, that big fight scene in France, the main battle of the entire movie, is they just show you how, like, this old time warfare, it was literally just people shoulder to shoulder, like in a mosh pit, just trying to survive until someone else had more people left.
Yeah.
And you're sardine canned together. You can barely throw a punch. It was more realistic than any other medieval, kind of, 1400s fight scene I've ever seen. It was, they're just tackling each other and mostly fist fighting because everybody's dropped their weapons by now, because you can't even swing a sword in this tight knit space anyway. So you usually are just starting to tackle people. Then you get outside of the big battle. Then you might find something to stab someone with or whatever. And people were just getting suffocated in the mud. It wasn't even like they weren't dying from, sword strikes and stuff like that. They're just being either trampled to death or suffocated because of the mud. And it was that was actually, obviously, it was also based on a true story. They were actually extremely outnumbered like that, and they had a plan, and they ended up beating them in that battle with a third of the people.
Yeah, the rain in the mud. That was a great plan. That his sidekick, his friend, and that relationship too, Dean. How he, the king, Timothy, the actor there, valued his friendship. So much with
John or whatever his name is.
John.
The kid from The Sixth Sense.
Sir John.
Yeah, I think it was the kid from The Sixth Sense.
Wow, that is
Joel Edgard or something. Yeah. Kid from The
really
Sixth
made
Sense.
my stomach hurt when John kind of didn't turn against him, but outwardly and vocally disagreed with what he was doing. Remember, they were they were kicked up, about to fight, and John.
He told him that.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to slaughter all of the prisoners that they had from one of the other earlier fights, because they killed that child in the woods.
Yeah.
That scene was awful.
Awful.
Basically these kids are playing in the woods, and Robert Pattinson's character kind of approaches them and gives one of the kids the head of the other kid and tells him to run it into their king. And it was pretty disgusting, terrible scene. And that's why he reacted that way to, he wanted to get back at them for that. But it's basically his buddy was telling him to keep his cool. We're going to stick to the plan. And he just didn't want to hear that. And he told him that he would kill him right there inside the tent. Right.
Yeah.
And then that's
I don't know. I correct me if I'm wrong, Dean, though, but I thought it was a little more than that. I thought he was basically saying this entire mission is pointless. This is just stupid war, political war. And he was like, I just don't agree. Like, I think he was pretty ticked off and turned his back to the king there. But it could have been just that one situation, though. But I kind of took it like he was just really disappointed
in the
king. When you're in the king, and you could feel the king, Timothy, so distraught about that because he valued his friendship so much and his opinion. Remember, he brought him in from the bar and said, hey, I want you to be in my corner. And I was really happy about that too, because I was hoping he would do that. Because in the beginning, the bartender was like, he forgot about you. He doesn't even care about you anymore. And then, of course, he came through. But one of my favorite scenes in the movie, to put a bow on this part, is right before the Sixth Sense guy, the king's sidekick, went to battle. He looked at the king and smiled and showed love and said, after this, we'll grab a beer. And smiled at him. Yeah. And you could see the king you could feel this actor, Timothy, just light up. Like, oh, that's all I wanted to hear. Like, he does love me. He does respect me. Like, he does value our friendship. Like, even though he might have been mad, maybe this war is stupid deep down. Timothy might feel that way. I feel like at that moment you could see Timothy's face just light up.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Well, Timothy or Hal, whatever his name was in the movie, all he wanted was like someone he could trust, because his whole tenure as king was just to navigate this political process, right? That he was so hard to judge his dad for being a tyrant, but like once he was in those shoes, he realized like how corrupt it is and how like easy you can be swayed when you're the king, because everyone just wants something from you. So I think that character kind of development, like John said earlier, of the king himself, Timothy, was insane. I think that was awesome that he he kind of fell victim to what he was judging so hard, and then tried to like edge it out and make peace again in the end, which was what he wanted to start with. Crazy.
Yep. Yeah, I
Crazy.
agree. Yeah, it was, you knew he was going into that as a suicide mission, right? With that first group to lead everybody into that mud pit. You knew that he wasn't coming back. There wasn't a second in that scene where I thought that his buddy was going to make it out of there. And I think he knew that as well, right?
Yeah. And Dean, going back to what you said about the battle scene, which was such a good point and such an authentic scene, so original, because I've never seen a battle scene like that where they're all clustered like that and people are being suffocated and can't breathe. And I mean, I was claustrophobic just watching that.
Yeah,
scene.
for sure.
And we
sure.
don't actually see how the Sixth Sense character, the sidekick of the king, his best friend, Jon, we don't see how Jon dies. But you have this feeling that, first of all, it looks like he gets a concussion. Remember that?
Yeah,
Dean?
he gets hit in the head with his helmet on. He takes his helmet off.
And he takes his helmet off, and he's not just confused. It looks like he's messed up. He is messed up, concussed, all like halfway knocked out. Now here he is, like scraping on the ground. He's climbing up people to get air. And there's that one scene then when the camera like pans out, like a drone pans out, and you could see him gasping for air.
That's great.
Yeah.
Battle. And you're just like, oh man, this guy's just trying to survive being suffocated. He doesn't even care, like you said, Dean, about being stabbed at this point.
Yeah, no, it almost felt like it almost was shot like a zombie movie.
Oh,
that whole scene was almost shot like a zombie, like a crowd zombie apocalypse takeover type of situation, right? Like where it's just like some person's kind of almost getting fed on, but like everybody was just trying to just like move the crowd, try and get some air, try and breathe. Everybody was just getting, everybody's wearing all that armor. They're being suffocated. They're exhausted. What did you guys feel about earlier in the movie? I want to take a step back, but what did you guys feel about his first battle with the one-on-one? The one-on-one.
The one-on-one was crazy. It was, it went back and forth. You didn't know if they were going to do it or not, right? Because they were like, we want a battle. And he's like, I want one-on-one to save, obviously, my little brother. Because everyone everyone knew his brother was soft, including him and the king. They all said, like, even though he's the younger one and he's soft, he's going to be king now because you're a drunk and you don't care about it. So also his character, like, he was a little shit. That little soft brother, he just wanted to prove everyone that he wasn't soft. But in the end, everyone they just knew the kind of person he was, and he was just like faking, I guess. So the one-on-one battle I thought was shot really well. It looked exhausting.
I thought it was also I think it was realistic. Like you're not going to be able to swing this and like do this for like this glorified, beautiful like fight. It's just not how it is.
And that's not how it was. They looked, especially Timothy's a skinny guy. He's probably not that, he might not be that strong. Just looking at him, he looks like malnourished almost. But John, we're talking about the realisticness of that first one-on-one fight, how they were just exhausted very early on. Couldn't even swing
wearing
the
all the
swords.
armor.
Yeah. And then he stabs him in the neck, obviously, with the dagger that he steals. Interesting
enough, I was reading David and Goliath with Donnie Schenkel and Brian Neitch that same morning. So this was multiple days ago that I watched this movie. So I read David and Goliath and then watched this movie. And that scene reminded me a lot of that, where it's like this skinny, young man, Timothy, the king, the future king at this point. It's like, there's no way he's going to win this battle. I feel like he's just too new to the game. I feel like this other kid just seems like he's been in it longer and he's more rough and he's ready to win. And there's just seems like this, like Timothy showed no fear. Like there was zero fear. There was zero doubt on his face. And he was just, let's go.
Well, he had been in previous battles before, right? He'd just been kind of out of the game for a little bit. Maybe he was a little rusty, but he had seen more war than probably anybody there by that time, though, too, right?
Yeah.
He also,
Go ahead.
it was like he had nothing to lose, kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah,
Doug.
he didn't really
He had
care.
nothing to lose because he was up the night before thinking about like, how do I get my little brother out of this war? And that was the only thing he could come up with was like, I'll fight this guy one-on-one and I might lose. And I think he just, because he was willing to lose everything, I think is why he won. And the other guy was still, the other king's son was still trying to like prove something, right? So he had a lot to lose. Whereas Timothy, I don't think did. So there was no pressure on him, and I don't know, he won. It was a good battle.
I love how the fight scene, the battle was just super, super, super real. Like in real life, that's how it actually would go. Two guys that are like skinny and small. They're not these big buff guys like Hollywood portrays in some of these fight scenes. Brad Pitt's not jumping up in the air and slitting a guy's throat in one stroke and landing on his feet, so, things like that. So I like it how it kind of had a John Wick feel to it, where it was choreographed and they were just fighting like it really would be. It was nothing fancy. It was nothing special. It was nothing like, oh, wow, there was no fireworks. It was just rugged and real. And he finally killed him. And it was just, there was no, what am I looking for? Peak. There was no.
Yeah, there's no dramatic death. It was just like they were wrestling. They're wrestling on the ground. He grabs his knife really quick and just gets him in the throat.
That was it.
Yeah. That was just kind of it. It wasn't this big romanticized death of like a standoff death, just kind of quick.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
It was like two kids fighting for the first time, which is what it looked like, which is kind of what it was in a way. They might have had some previous battle, but they were still kids nonetheless. And that's what it was.
Yeah, it wasn't glorious. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't inspiring. It wasn't fireworks. It was just two guys fighting for their life with a bunch of armor on in the mud. Two small guys that are, that just did what they had to do to in that situation. So I like the realism of this whole movie.
Well, yeah, they were, like you said, they weren't bodybuilders. They weren't trained athletes who just had a ton of stamina and a ton of cardio. You know what I mean? Like they were just kind of, like they had about 5 minutes to kill one another, and whoever's less tired in that 5 minutes is going to like win. Right. Yeah. That wasn't like, it's going to be like this 6-round UFC fight. You know what I mean? Like it was very, you got 3 minutes to do as much damage because you're going to be gassed out.
Yeah. I like that there wasn't any in the whole movie, like a half Thor Bjornson. How do you say his name? Half Thor Bjornson or whatever, the strong guy. I like how there wasn't one of those in the crew. Cause like, where's this peasant getting 10,000 calories a day to stay that size? Exactly. Like that was
he also he drank alcohol and didn't really eat. So he's going to be skinny.
He's going to be skinny.
And he was skinny. Most of those people all honestly probably look like that. And they're also from, where they're from in that part of the country. Like they're not big people.
Yeah.
They're not, Icelandics. They're not like naturally big people. They're all just kind of average sized people, and they're pretty skinny because they don't have a lot of food, and they're starving out in the battle. Like they don't have food out there. The people are dying of just hunger out there. They're supposed to be jacked and eating, like you said, 10 ounces of protein every meal and like, 2 cups of carbs. Like, no.
Yeah. When it came down to that, everybody was pretty skinny. Nobody was all ripped and buff. Right. It wasn't like 300, even though I like what 300 did there, that they went extreme on purpose and we all loved it. They
went to that was a cartoon. That was a live action comic book. Yeah. That was Conan.
They didn't hide it. That was the purpose. And we all accepted it as the audience and we loved it, and it's, by the way, that's tough to do. And 300 actually pulled that off, which is pretty cool. But I think Gerard Butler is the reason why. That's a different podcast.
It is.
I like the movie just because it kept it so real. I love that it kind of had a what's the Leo movie where he won the Academy Award?
Revenant.
How did Revenant feel with like natural lighting? It had a natural lighting feel. It was dirty. It was natural. I
want to know if they used any lights in that. I'm sure they did, but they made it seem like they didn't, and that's hard to do. It was very dark.
Very
It was
dark.
dark. It was rough. It took its time. I love how it just stayed on the king as he goes through this process. You're kind of in it with the king, and you're feeling all of these emotions with his face and his eyes. He doesn't have to do a lot of talking, and that's credit to his acting. And it's credit to the writer and the director who just said, hey, film his face. The audience will feel it. They didn't try to overdo it with all of this action and these overacting and these emotions. So that's something that I respected about the movie. It just took its time. Just film his face.
And you hit the nail on the head there, because I think, especially with these period pieces, you can kind of get lost in the dialogue. Some of the scenes back then that they kind of portray now, like the dialogue gets very boring in these movies. Sometimes it can, but the fact that Timothy can act so well, and just by looking at him, you know what he's feeling. I think that helps certain scenes that might be slow at times. You know what I mean?
There was some parts for me where I'll go ahead and finish, Dylan.
No, I think I was just going to say John made a great point there. I think that they stayed on Timothy so much, and people who can do that made the movie better than it could have been. It could have been really slow and dull at times.
I think, I honestly, this is a period piece. It is a based on a true story. It is like a biopic, you know. So I expected it to kind of have the pace it did. I knew it wasn't going to be like Troy or a 300. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. I just kind of enjoyed it for what it was. But I think one of my gripes with it was maybe that the friend character, Sir John, he just had a little bit too much like one-liner type role. You know, I don't know. He was almost kind of like, his character kind of played into this little like passive aggressive little role like too many times in a row.
I am.
And then it kind of had a purpose. I get it, but like I just would have wanted to see like less of that, I guess. I don't know.
I wanted the director to like just have this intimate, and I guess they kind of did in the argument of the tent, but John never stepped in and just grabbed the king and spoke his mind or yelled and like let his emotion out. Like he just, the apple thing killed me. I agree with Dean. The eating of the apple constantly, the cutting of the apple, talking with his mouth open, just this laid back on the chair type, like barely saying anything. You're just screaming at the TV. You're like, dude, put the apple down, stand up. The king needs you. Like, even if you disagree with this whole war, this whole battle, like stand up and help him out. He took you in. He's been your friend since day one. So I don't know. I felt the same frustration, Dean.
I think they must.
Yeah, maybe
sounds like they overdid it with the sidekick character. Like
no, I think they underdid it.
Well, they underdid it.
Like I wanted him to play a bigger role and be more vocal and be actually in more of the scenes. He this whole let me eat the apple and just be this stoic character that barely says anything. I was frustrated by that. Dean,
yes, I think Dylan means that they overdid that part of him.
Oh, got it.
They didn't let him
instead of
they kept him in a box.
Reach. Yeah.
And this director, I'm glad John brought him up. His name's David Michaud. I've never heard anything he's done before. All the movies here I've just never heard of. He does one every 4 years, it looks like. This might be his most popular one ever. But yeah, I think the director could have done some stuff differently. I think he did some stuff well, but I think he could have done some stuff differently as well.
Like, this movie definitely wasn't cheap.
Well, it's 20 million, and it was a massive box office flop, believe it or not. It only generated 128K, which is like, obviously if you're putting 20 million into a movie and you only get 128,000 back in the box office.
I don't like, Dylan, that's
the first, that's the first week though, right?
I think, yeah. Box office is just a period. It's not like the total revenue.
If you read the credits, like Brad Pitt produced this thing. And there was other superstars in the behind the making of this movie. I remember my wife pointing out people she knows. Oh yeah. It was shot beautifully. I thought it was a beautiful movie. I thought it was an amazing movie. I thought it was a great movie. I really did. Why?
It was probably built for the streaming, like later on. I don't think I know Hollywood's pretty smart, right? They know what they're doing. I don't think that they thought that this was going to be a huge run to the theater type of movie. I think they're just kind of banking on how it's going to do outside of the theater now. Like that's a huge new thing that people are thinking about now. Like how is this movie going to do outside of the theater?
But Dean, why did this movie flop? Because I talk about this movie. I've been talking about this movie for the past, what has been now 3 or 4 days, 2-3 days. And nobody has heard about this movie. Nobody. It's even on Netflix too. It's not like it's hard to find. And this movie is completely unknown to society, it seems like. And me and my wife just, wow, we're like, this movie is great. What happened here, guys?
I think partly Dean's right, I think, about they didn't make it for theater in a way. I think Netflix is kind of resurrecting the popularity of this movie for sure. Because I think the people who recommended it to me, besides you guys, also watched it on Netflix. And I think in 2019, no one really heard it. Timothy wasn't as popular as he was now, and he's the lead role. And there's no one else in the film I even know. So like there was no one to kind of draw you in.
Besides Robert Pattinson.
Besides Robert Pattinson, and he wasn't even in the movie for the first hour.
But it's a small role. Yeah. Small role. Yeah.
Dean, I want to get your opinion on why.
He has two scenes.
So I have my opinion on maybe why. Dean, I want to hear yours though.
Well, I think Dillan hit it on the head though with the people aren't really people like that are going to the theaters, post I feel like 2015 almost, like people are going to go see huge names and huge blockbuster like Marvel movies, and the theaters are dying. Like sad as it is, like theaters, the whole theater system, the studio system falling apart. There's no money anymore except for 2 types of movies. So you got, this art house film about a period piece about a king with an unknown actor on the rise. Like no one's going to go see that. And, like I'm not going to go personally. Like I loved this movie. I thought it was fun. I liked it, but like love's a stretch. I like this movie a lot, but I'm not going to rush to the theater to go see the King, Henry, about Henry V. That's not why I'm going to the theaters. If I'm going to the movie theater experience, like I'm probably going for like the big action movie. For me, I'd rather watch this kind of movie in the comfort of my own home, kind of on my own time, my own pace, with my own kind of setup.
Yeah,
and I think that's just what's happening to the entire theater system though. Since streaming became a thing, it's like, well, shoot, now I can get movies that came out 2 weeks ago on HBO Max, like, and watch it at my house. Yeah. All right.
They just teased, I think last week, small tease, the new Jurassic World movie coming out. Just a little teeny nugget. It was actually even in a commercial. I forget which one. And my son is freaking out. Lincoln, he's 7 years old. He's freaking out. I'm freaking out. My wife's freaking out. Liv's jumping up and down. And we're like, we're going to go see the new Jurassic World. Obviously, we're going to go to the theater. Like that's a theater movie.
That's a theater movie.
Hey, we're going to go to the theater opening night, big bag of popcorn. We're going to overpay for this experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, it's actually not overpaying, because to me, it's worth the experience. Now,
I think the price for the hour, like if you think about an hour of entertainment and you're paying, $12, like it's pretty good.
It's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, we spend more of that on a sandwich. You know
what I mean?
Snacks. Like
it's the snacks that get you.
The snacks get you. The $7 small soda.
The snacks will get you, but to me, it's worth it. Sometimes you got to lay your sword down, like going to the fair. Me and my wife always joke, we're going to way overpay. Having 2 kids going to the fair. I mean, you're paying honestly close to $200 when everything's all said and done.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? It's worth it. Anywhere from 100 to 200. I mean, 200 might be a lot, but it matters how long you're there, et cetera. But to me, it's just worth. There's some things in life you just have to lay your sword down to. Could you go to the store and get a pumpkin? So, you go to the pumpkin patch, you're going to pay more, but it's the experience. You go cut the tree down, you're going to pay more. It's the experience. You go to the theater, you're going to pay more, but it's the experience. Like, to me, there's things in life that the experience is just, it's just worth the extra cost. But I digress. I know I'm getting off track. Here's my thing. check this out. I got an interesting thing to say here.
Yeah.
Me and my wife found this movie because we couldn't find anything to watch. We just got done with Ozark, the new season. We're going through Netflix. We also have Hulu. We're just in one of these slumps. Like, oh, The King.
You guys need to watch Lost, start to finish.
My wife
Best show ever made.
My wife has. I can't get into it.
Like
but
20
that's a different
seasons?
topic.
There's 6 or 7, but they're long.
I agree with John. I can't get into it.
It's so good.
Go ahead.
So we see the cover, we read about it, and I also think the marketing did a really good job on the cover, his look. Like sometimes movie covers, I'm like, that doesn't even explain the movie. That's a horrible movie cover. But we're looking at this, the Timothy actor looking down with his armor on. We read the description. We're like, ooh, let's do this one. So, I mean, it got me. That's why I'm like shocked that more people have seen this movie. So we started. I realized right when we started, guys, that I've seen the first 10 minutes of this movie. I watched it a few months ago by myself. I don't know. Maybe I was traveling, maybe a Saturday afternoon when my wife was out and about. I just pushed play. I can't remember, but I've seen the first 10 minutes. You know what I did?
Shut it off.
Shut it off.
Ooh.
You know why? Because the first 10 minutes is the most boring piece of crap in film history. They can take the first 10 minutes out of that movie and just dump it in the garbage. It doesn't even really set up the movie at all. It's pointless. Timothy, the main actor, is not even in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, who's this grouchy old king? There's this kid yelling at him at the table. You're like, where's this going? This is boring. I'm going to turn it off. They should have opened the movie with Timothy. Opening
on the bed.
Isn't the opening shot with him though in the battlefield?
That's not him.
That's not him, I don't think. Unless I'm wrong.
I thought that was, or was that the other kid? Was that the kid that he fought?
It was the kid he fought. It was the kid he fought, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. I kind of watched it. Maybe I just assumed it was him because it kind of looked, because actually this is what happened really quick. I thought it was him because it looked like him on the cover with the short hair. But then they go to, so I just assumed it was him. I wasn't paying super close attention to that particular like face or whatever. I'm just kind of looking at the scene, cinematography kind of situation. And no, that was him.
Nope.
No.
See, that's the thing. The fact
I think it was a flash forward.
Either way, they fucked up because we don't know who it is.
We're gonna come back. I think that was a flash forward.
All three of us have no idea what the first 10 minutes of this movie even tried to get across. We don't even know who that kid was. We're like, looking at the old king eating chicken at the table, and you're like, what am I watching? They should have opened this movie with a close-up of Timothy, the actor, with like just that look that he has, just like maybe breathing. And they should have just started to pan out. And they should have just showed Timothy in his emotion in some scene, maybe put some music coming in. Boom. Start with Timothy, man. You got Leo. You got the new Leo. Start with Timothy. Like, bring me into this movie.
I like that we have this little controversy because I think that's what they did.
That's not him.
I think it was him. I think it was him
in the future.
I think it was him in a flash forward.
Oh,
a flash forward.
That's like Dune. Isn't that how Dune started?
I think so. I think that's what this is. I'm gonna after the podcast, I'm gonna go back.
Yep.
And I'm gonna watch this first scene, and I want to see if it's him. I think it's him because he kills that guy with the sword.
I know.
At the very beginning.
I'm 100% on John's side. I don't think it was him. And I think they should have started with Timothy just hung over on the bed.
Yeah, something Timothy, like, look, actually, I take it back a little bit. I actually like the very, very opening of him saying, hey, Scotland's the wrong way. He's talking to
that was him.
The dead body crawling. He's like, you got to go that way. And then he takes the knife and puts it through his skull. I'm like, ooh.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then
that's the scene I'm talking about.
There's big battlefield. Yeah. I did like that. I was in it there. But then it's all of a sudden, it's a 10-minute scene.
It's the second scene. It's the second
and third. Second and third are bad.
It's like I'm watching this grumpy old king eat chicken and this kid yell at the king. I have no idea what's going on. This is boring as all hell. I don't even realize that this Timothy actor is in it from Dune, because there's just, so I don't know. Get rid of the table scene, get Timothy in there quicker. Keep that first scene going where he stabs the guy in the neck on the battlefield. Keep that going for like another 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got to cut away from that and go right to the dinner table.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll do a quick ranking. I know, John, we got to get scooting on this. So I'm going to give it out of 10. I'm going to give it a solid 8.7.
Ooh, higher than I thought.
I liked it. I'm a sucker for medieval shit. I'm a sucker for the shot style, and I'm a sucker for good acting. And there was not a bad actor in this movie.
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say my favorite scene was when the boats were coming in to this village, and you see all the boats coming. The water's beautiful. Timothy kind of jumps off the ship first to lead the pack, and then it pans out even more. And then it goes to another shot from the village, and you can see the water in the distance, and you see like all the boats out there. I thought that was an awesome scene to like bring you in and like prepare you for battle. That was my favorite.
Yeah,
scene
that was a good scene.
I'm gonna give it, because not only do I agree with John that that there was a 10-minute thing that could have easily been cut out, I also think the first hour was kind of slow at times. Like, I think this movie could have easily been hour 45 instead of 220.
It was long. It kind of reminded me of The Irishman. It was long. I mean, even though The Irishman, every second of that movie was genius, but it was one of these longer Netflix movies. Yeah.
And I love dialogue when it's entertaining or has a purpose. Some of this I know had a purpose, but they were kind of like beating it over the head with the same scene over and over to portray someone's character or emotion or whatever. So for that reason, I think I'm going to give it a 6.9. 6.9, almost a 7. Timothy was brilliant, though. I nothing against him. I also liked the Sixth Sense kid. Really good.
Wow, that is the Sixth Sense kid. I can't believe that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
I think it could have been directed a little better. Sorry, before you go on, John. I think it could have been directed a little differently. I don't know how exactly I would do it. I have to sit down and like think about it, but I think it could have been a little more entertaining at parts. Maybe show a little something different that we wanted to see as the audience. And I like the casting though. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad that there wasn't any fucking A-list guys at the time. I kind of like that there wasn't actually. But yeah,
besides
6, 9, 7.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, besides Pattinson, right?
Yeah.
But it was like it was short and quick. His stuff.
No,
they didn't lean on him for the movie.
Yeah.
A few things I actually kind of felt sad for Twilight's character, because you could see he's just this kind of like twisted son in the world in politics.
Well, he also was completely a fraud.
He's completely a fraud. And then, it's actually how he dies on the mud. Like, that was actually kind of sad. Like, I actually felt for him there. I was like, dang, man, like, this is how you're going to go out. Like, he's trying, like, put yourself in his shoes, and first of all, knowing now that the ball was sent by the king's people and the assassin was sent and set up by the king's people, and how the Twilight guy didn't even attack him. Like, then you start to feel bad for him. I did like how the king just nodded and his people came in and killed him, though. Like, he wouldn't even kill him himself. That was pretty badass. I do think that the Sixth Sense character, John, should have been given more. Like Dean said, he should have had more range. He should have been more emotional. They should have given him a few more big scenes. I mean, he didn't really even have one big scene at all. So I was hoping for that. My favorite scene of the movie is the very end when he's talking to his wife, his now queen. I love how he is able to lay his sword down and admit that he enjoyed this movie. So 9.2 for me.
Yeah, so we got a big range here. Me and John are pretty close, but Dylan not so much. But that's good. That's what this is all about. Everybody likes what they like, and that's the whole point. We're not all supposed to agree. We're not all supposed to like it. We all kind of like what we like, and I think it was a good watch. I think it's definitely worth watching for anybody that wants to learn a little bit about maybe some loose base history stuff and see some cool grittiness in a movie.
Well, I think collectively we gave it an 82, so that's not bad.
Yeah, and I think the Rotten Tomatoes was like in the 90s, 90 percentile. I think it was pretty up there.
Yeah.
Highly ranked. Not that like we go by those at all. I don't look at those until after I watch a movie, usually, honestly. Just to see like what people thought. But yeah, I think definitely worth checking out. So yeah, there it is, The King.
Thanks, guys. That was fun. The King, go watch it.
Bam, bam.